All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Miss Bomey's Zone. We got, like we said before, we got a special guest tonight. Miss Mary's here.
Hello.
Everybody, make sure and call her Miss Mary.
Yeah.
She likes it when you do that.
Oh, you're not the first to call me Miss Mary.
But tonight, odd disappearances. You guys have got some good ones.
Well, yeah, this kind of started off as a phone conversation when she was telling me a little bit about it, and I thought this would make an awesome topic. So then I'm like, hey, you want to come on and let's talk about this? And she's like, sure. So here we are.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are going to wonder, as I was telling Christine, you'll see it in promo, there was like a tire that just rolled off across the screen, rolled around and landed on the ground. What that was one of the great disappearances here in Maine, where a woman actually stopped on the side of the road, called her hubby or whatever, or no, not her hubby, the place she was going to, and let them know I have a flat tire. So I'm going to be a little bit late, but I got all the stuff I need to get it fixed, and I'm going to get on the road as soon as I'm done. All they ever found of her was that tire. No, wow. not even a track. It's like you see the car pull forward, it stops. You see an imprint where the jack was and all that. She jacked it up. Nothing ever. Not after that. Nothing. Her nowhere. Car nowhere. Just the flat tire.
That's really weird. That's crazy.
I figured she was somewhere going, yes, I pulled it off.
Rid of that mess.
I am not cleaning that house one more time.
I don't have to make dinner.
That's right. They'll never find this car.
Yeah. Winner, chicken dinner. That's crazy though when you think about it. But yeah, there's a lot of different types of disappearances. You know, when I started doing a bit of research on the internet, you can come up with all different kinds of topics. You know, it's crazy. You can really get sucked down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So tonight, what we're going to focus on, Mary's portion. We'll let her talk about that first, and then I have a portion, and then we'll just kind of come back and regroup a little bit here at the end.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I brought this subject up because I found it interesting, and it was actually a YouTube video about the missing 411 books by David Paulides. And he was a law enforcement officer for 20 years. And he would occasionally be called in for search and rescues in national forests. And one time, some forest rangers came up and, individually had told him about there's something weird going on here. And he started investigating, and he found some very interesting things. So now, some of the things he excluded when he was doing his searches about people who've gone missing is anyone who might have a mental health related missing, any kind of like drownings where somebody's witnessed they had fallen into a river or something, anything where it might be animal related, like there'd been a rogue bear out in the woods or something, and anything that might have to do with like human to human contact, like abductions kind of thing, or
like a
kidnapping kind of deal.
Okay.
So that kind of set the criteria for all of the things he would look at, and he found some really common things that happened in all of the national forests and in parks, except through the middle of the country. So it seems to be kind of clustered around, I think it's around 30 some national parks on both the east and west coast. Also occurs in Canada, the UK, and Australia. But this one is just about, North America, United States. Okay, one of the things that was a commonality is that there would be search parties, and I think the typical is for like 7 to 10 days. They'll go on a extensive search. Canines cannot pick up their trail, and canines are excellent at doing that. And in some of these cases, this is a group of people who might have been hiking on a well-known trail. Somebody falls behind a bit, and then they can't see them. They call like short amount of time when they realize that this person's missing, and search parties will start. But the canines can't pick anything up. Professional trackers can't see any footprints that might be leading out somewhere, or somebody hiding in the woods grabbing people. Nighttime thermal detection doesn't pick up anything. And then usually within a day or two, and I don't know if this is really a big deal because weather changes, but there's usually a dramatic weather change. And that usually impedes the search. So these are some things he noticed that are very, very common. And the age range goes from little kids, to older people. But it generally is small children and the older people. The older people usually have like dementia or something, so that's kind of excused by that. But usually they've only been, and then the other middle-aged people are usually professionals and like marathon runners or professional athletes, really, really good specimens. And many of these people have spent, lots of time in these parks, so they know them and have all of this survival equipment and things. So another thing that they found very, very interesting is that if they do find them, and they do find them, but alive and dead, but if they find somebody alive, usually they're confused and they have no idea how they got there, and for some reason they're missing pieces of clothing, usually shoes, sometimes one shoe, sometimes more than one shoe, and they don't really know. And the little kids will have often spoke about the bear man, protected them through the night. They'll also find people in areas that would be almost impossible for them to get to on their own, like little children that might be found the next day 12 miles away. Well, a 2-year-old's not going to climb up a hill and go 12 miles. It's just, and there's no footprints around them, nothing. They found one kid, I think his shoes were off. He was barefoot. His pants were on inside out. I mean, it's just weird. So those are some things that are commonly seen. Now, when he was doing the research for this book, he did call the National Park Service, and he wanted to get, a listing. He went on, first he started with the Yosemite National Park, and he looked on their website, and, just about every law enforcement agency has a list of missing persons in their precinct or whatever. There's nothing listed on the National Park Service. And he thought, well, okay, yeah, I suppose you don't want a great big list of missing people in your park because nobody will come there, So he thought, okay, I'll just call the, Washington. And surprisingly, they don't track missing people. There's no requirement to do so. So he then wanted to get the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, get some reports on different people that he had specifics about. And if he had extremely specific information, he may get a FOIA report. But he was usually questioned on why he wanted that information and what he was going to use it for. And that's not something typically that they ask. You can't not give somebody information based on what they're going to use it for. So that was an interesting thing.
So these were,
yeah.
They had a question in the chat room, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. He wanted to know where these were at. So were these all over different
Yep,
national parks.
they're clustered in about 30 national parks. Yosemite has the biggest occurrences. And a lot of times in these parks, they will be in certain areas. They might be 9-10 years apart, but if you go back through history, you'll find out that there are very similar occurrences happening in the same places in the parks. Now, there's nothing down the center of the U.S. So like South Dakota and, there's a lot of national parks there, and there's plenty of places get lost there in bad terrain. Nothing. So it seems to be, for some reason, it's kind of clustered around water. I didn't think that was a big deal. I thought, well, most of them are around water, streams, But then when I saw how there wasn't anything in the middle of the United States, and they have streams and rivers and things there. It was really interesting because it's clustered around the Great Lakes. What
she
you
has
doing?
to go outside.
Oh.
Sorry.
Should I let her out? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Shelby's jumping up and down for the last 5 minutes. But going off what she was saying, John, I thought it was very interesting that there was really no specific pattern or identification for the middle parts of the states. It was more towards, each end of the coast areas, east and west.
Yeah, it also sounds
the other
odd
thing
that they're
that
like protective of
Hello, I cannot hear you.
How about that? Is that better?
There you go.
Okay. Surprised. I thought it was very strange that they're that protective of the information too.
Yeah,
that's to do with it.
Well, yeah, and don't you think that if these are people that are missing, why would they not have the reports? Why would and that makes me wonder how actively are they looking into it, or did they look into it? Because that's some person's mother or father or brother or sister. It's a family member. It's not like,
That's the part that I'm saying is that's the strange, odd part when someone goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm looking for a missing person." "Okay, what information do you have?" "Why? What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know. Yeah. Find them." What do you think? You should be there going, "We're looking for new information so we can help find this person." And then this guy shows up and he wants information. I don't know what he wants it for. Well, what do you think they want it for? To find the person, obviously.
And I'm not saying that there probably isn't a percentage of people that don't want to be found and can obviously, get off the grid, so to speak. But
and do you know right now there's one right here. We were just talking about in the chat room. There's one right here amongst us right now. An odd disappearance. You have you have 3 of the only 4 living people who have won an AR from Ebomi. Everybody else has disappeared. Only 4 of us live right now. Every other soul has gone. So the 3 of the only 4 existing living people on the planet who have won. Neil's not here, but the other 3 are in this chat room right now. So, wow.
We were just kind of reiterating what you were talking about, but quickly before you get back into it, I just wanted to take a moment to say hello to everybody that's out there listening live and in the chat room here. We have, let's go down the list. We've got Douglas, we've got Smile Money, we've got Brian, we got that Eric guy. We don't really care about him though. And we also have Jolson. How's it going, Jolson?
Douglas is
here. We have Douglas is here, and we have Bearded CB82 and Brian.
Yeah.
So
all right.
welcome.
Well, welcome everyone. Yeah.
So I'm hoping you guys, as you're listening, if you have any questions, just shoot them in the chat room, and we'll get to them.
Okay. Says he's never won anything. That's why you're still alive.
Well, yeah, that's why you're still alive.
Okay. Who wants to win shit?
We're just talking about all the AR giveaways that we've done in the past when we've given them to people. They've kind of disappeared. We never hear from them, with the exception of like 4 people.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So we're just kind of making a joke.
3 of them are actually in this chat right
now. Yes.
Oh. Well, I could finish up my little section.
Yes. Is she there?
Oh, yes, she is. Okay. I'll go get her.
So thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you guys will enjoy the subject. I thought it was something different, something that probably people don't think about or really talk about that much. And like John and I were talking just a minute ago, Mary, were saying, I find it kind of funny that they're so hesitant to give any information out. Like, why do you want this information? Well, that's somebody's family member or loved one. Don't you think that they're, concerned about the fact that they disappeared and nothing?
Right. Exactly. And one of the things too is that it's not that they haven't been searched for. There have been hundreds of people, lots of times volunteers, searching for weeks after the official search is over.
Oh, okay.
So there's been plenty of searching done, and the park rangers, search and rescue squads are mostly volunteers. But I mean, the fact that you can have helicopters with infrared and not pick up any heat thing, and then the person's found, a couple days later, in an area that had been searched multiple times. And that happens for some of the live people. Some of the people who aren't found alive, if found at all, will be a lot of times they're found near water, but they have not drowned. In fact, their cause of death cannot be determined, but you can tell someone didn't drown because there's no water in their lungs, And it's as though they were placed there. And these were places that multiple times had been searched.
So this was most of the places where they do find the people alive or dead. There is actually access to get there.
There's access to get there.
Okay,
that's the most common. One of the strangest ones, though, are when they find them in areas that are inaccessible. Like at the top of a peak. One child was found. He actually did survive. He was 2 years old. He was walking down a trail with his mom and dad, and he got a little bit behind them, and there was a river on the side, like there's in most parks. And they just looked back, and he's completely gone. I mean, this is in a matter of a minute. Now, if a kid fell in the water, you'd hear that. His dad immediately starts looking for him, and his mom, all over the place, and they can't find him. So they reported him missing. There was big search that went on, even as far as blocking up the river and looking on the dry riverbed under all the rocks and everything. And no trace of him. Of course, now his mom and dad kept looking,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they found him 550 feet above on a mountain peak that was like a sheer cliff. How would a little kid get up there? Now, he was face down, which for some reason they're always face down. And they thought he might have passed away. He was missing one shoe, and he didn't have a shirt on. But when his dad went to hold him, he realized he was still breathing, and he did end up surviving. But I saw an interview with that kid too, and he doesn't remember anything about it. Of course, he was only 2.
Well, yeah, you're not going to remember that much when you're 2 years old.
No,
even if it is something pretty traumatic.
But 2 or 4-year-olds, the kid's not going to go uphill. Like, that's the thing. If somebody gets lost, they're probably going to go downhill rather than climb a mountain. I mean, maybe somebody would climb one to see if they could see, get their bearings, but
I think
not a 2-year-old.
I think kids would climb a bit because they're just that limber and agile, and they can probably go places where, adults couldn't do it as easily.
But these were you're talking wilderness and strenuous and sheer cliffs. And so, it's like how these just don't make any sense. And there's too many of them. He has documented, his series of books are called Missing 411. And they talk about, West Coast, East Coast, different areas. I think there's 6 books so far because he keeps adding to it. And he's documented 2,000 of these cases so far that fit this specific criteria. Of course, there's way more missing people than that. But these are the ones that there's no inability to determine the cause of death, which medical examiners aren't really big on saying, I have no idea. I mean, that's their job.
And especially with all of the technology that we have available at our fingertips, I don't know of too many cases that would go in that category of unknown.
Yeah.
They had one in Detroit that got solved finally in 2009, and being solved is just as weird as it was unsolved. They were working on a place, a building, whatever, and they had a missing person just disappeared into thin air. Right? Could not find this person anywhere, no trace of them whatsoever at all. Years have gone by, and in 2009, someone was in there working in a building, and in the bottom of an elevator shaft, they found a body encased in a block of ice.
Oh.
Once again, how did it get there? Nobody has a clue how it got there. It's the missing person, but they're in a block of ice, frozen solid in a block of ice.
How did that happen? Yeah.
And an abandoned elevator shaft. I mean, you just go, what?
What?
The disappearance was wild enough, but then years and years later to find them, and now they still have no answers.
Yeah, I got more questions than answers.
That's true. With some of those disappearances, you do end up with more questions than answers, and it feels like it's resolved.
Yeah, I would still, hike in a national forest, but I would make sure I had somebody with me at all times.
Bearded CB wants to know, was it West Coast for the 2-year-old kid?
I believe it was Yosemite. I can't remember the kid's name, but it was a long time ago. I mean, he went back in records from like 1939, and it was really weird how very similar these things were.
Talking about the years for a minute, when he was, gathering up all this information, what kind of spanned over the years are you talking about is the first part of the question that I'm curious about. And then secondly, did he have an idea or a tally at that time? Because I know that you had mentioned that as of today, it's close to 2,000 cases.
Right. Well, he just started.
Or do you think that there's more that he just didn't put in the book that maybe he was
Well,
researching?
I think that's why he does, because he's continually researching. It takes a while to get this information. He's got a team that also works with him.
Mm-hmm.
But, they eliminate a lot, like the one you were talking about, John. That would not have fit the criteria for this because it wasn't in a national park, and it wasn't, and there was some sort of human to human contact happening, or, there's some foul play going on there.
Well, yeah, that particular one, they said there was the only cause of death they had was the person had been frozen. They had frozen to death.
Yeah.
So they showed no foul play, no nothing. But when you think there's somebody over there, all right, where this person is, they're over there. And next thing you know, years go by and you find them frozen in a block of ice in an elevator shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck? What?
What
And
the
there's
hell?
but there's no foul play. It's like what did they do? Fill an elevator shaft with water and just hang on tight till it froze? I mean,
I know, it's just so strange. And Chris, with your question, I think he just started researching, going through papers and finding, child missing in this place or that place, because it wasn't listed generally on any of the websites, and plus way back, they didn't have the internet.
No.
So he did go looking through some of the, biggest forests, and then people would let him know about other ones they heard about. He'd research those, and 2,000 is a lot to fit this criteria. He doesn't give any theories as to what he thinks.
So he just is going by the facts that he comes across from wherever he's pulling his resources from. Yeah.
Yeah. He just gives all of the statistics, data, and he researches it really well. Oh, I see
Did you
that.
find
Yeah.
something interesting in the chat room?
Yeah. FOIA for some guy to write a book, no wonder agencies resisted. Yeah, I could see where that would be kind of a problem, but I think there's some sort of an exemption when you're published.
I'm curious to know too, like when he's going through all of his research, how many, if you could do a breakdown of people that are still considered truly disappeared, how many told in number of deaths, and how many told in recovery, for recovering.
There are no records. That's the problem.
No, I just mean like in his books and in his research, if he's ever kind of.
I do believe he's got all that research, all kind of charted out and stuff, but I didn't actually have one of his books. This is just YouTube stuff I've been looking at. But yeah, I don't know. It's
that would be interesting.
Very strange. But one thing about the FOIA request, they said, "Oh, we don't have any records. We don't keep them. We lost them. Whatever." So he thought, "Oh, it can't cost that much. Well, fine, I'll pay for it then if I'm not published in enough places for an exemption." And they said, "Okay, we could get that for you, but it would cost you for Yosemite $34,000. For the whole national park system, it would be $1.4 million." So I mean, yeah. So, like he said, how hard is it? We would buy them a laptop. We would get interns to enter all of this data, and they just why don't they keep records?
That's the interesting thing that I was just going to say. I find it very interesting, and especially now in today's technology with everything that we have at our disposal, to have these records on file of missing people. That's just crazy.
Doesn't Mount Shasta out in California have a lot of disappearances? I think Mount Shasta had quite a few different disappearances.
Yeah. What park is that in? Is that like in Yosemite or something?
I'm not sure if it's in a park. I
know. But I'm sure. Well, California has a ton of disappearances. I mean, when I saw the map, there's just tons marked there. But I don't know if that's because there's just a lot more people, So maybe percentage-wise, it's the same. Not quite sure. But, and like the first case he worked on, because he had actually been in the search and rescue, it was a 14-year-old girl in California. And he wondered why she wasn't on the national missing and exploited children list. This wasn't that far again. Oh, yeah. And they didn't, for some reason, they don't put him on that list. They just want to pretend nothing happened.
Oh, here's something really strange for you. I'm going to pop it up on the screen so you two can see it. Right here is Mount Shasta, surrounded completely, 360 degrees, surrounded by national parks. National park.
Oh.
There's Killsmith, Marble Mountain Wilderness, Six Rivers, Trinity Alps, Shasta Trinity National Park, another national park. Up here in the whole thing is ringed in national parks all the way around it, and then it sits in the middle.
Oh, that is in California.
Yeah, that's right here in California. You'll see when I pull out.
Oh,
right
northern part. Okay.
Northern California. Yep.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is surrounded in national parks. And that's a spot where there's a lot of shady, odd stuff happening right there.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of national parks there.
So, and then, a lot of people like I say, this David Paulides doesn't offer any theories. He just offers information. But of course, people give him lots of theories, but there's always an outlier that wouldn't fit into it. So and it happens too often in too many places for it to be a single group of people. Usually like with Bigfoot, I kind of thought about that because I don't know if there's Bigfoot or not, but there's usually a really bad smell. Nobody ever remembers that, and they're right there. That's never been mentioned. I don't know.
I
There's
think,
just so
yeah,
many things.
there's got to be so many different theories out there as to what's causing the disappearances.
And the fact that, of course, you go into conspiracy when you think about the government not wanting to discuss it or not wanting you digging into it. You wonder, is it the deep state and, all this stuff. So
That was the comment that Jolson just made, Illuminati and the Bilderberger group. And then before that, Smile Money commented, National Park investigates crimes. He would think that state law enforcement officials would be in charge. That's a good point.
Well, yeah, for the National Park Service, that was just for the data he was trying to get, to find out how many people how many disappearances were in each national park. And that's the thing they wouldn't share. But yeah, as far as the officials being in charge and, actually doing the search, they definitely did searches. So pedophile and rapist. Yeah, but that doesn't explain like the 83-year-old woman or the, 72-year-old man. Yeah.
Unless you're into old people. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Why do you have to go there?
Sorry. Because I look at things sideways.
Oh my heavens, girl.
I'm twisted. Sorry.
So that's my part.
Well, this is really good. You really got conversation going here in the chat room, throwing out some of their ideas and some of their theories and just some of their comments too. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. Very interesting.
What about your villages? And
Okay, so
towns?
mine is towns or villages that mysteriously disappear.
I'm waiting for this because
I knew you would be.
the only town that I'm aware of that disappeared. Actually, everyone knows what happened. Believe it or not, in a crazy wild twist of fate, the town caught on fire, and they tried to put it out for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 decades, and eventually they went, it's not going to go out. So everybody moved. It literally was a.
I know which one you're talking about.
There's a huge coal mine vein underneath this town.
Yeah.
And apparently, a fire got started in the coal vein, and it burned so hot that they couldn't put it out, and there was enough coal there to keep this fire going for like eons.
Years. Yep.
And so that town's gone, but everybody knows technically what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's a town that burnt from underground.
I can't think of the name of that town though. Sorry, squirrel.
Squirrel.
Mine is, I got 3 different locations. One is in Canada, one is in the United States, and one is in Ireland. So I kind of went around the world. So the first one is in Canada. It's Lake Anakanui. This is where an entire village disappeared in the 1930s. It was really kind of weird the way that this came about because there was a fur trapper named John LaBelle who was coming there to spend the night because he would be out in the woods. I gotta say bush, it's Canada. Come on. Give me grief here. So he discovered that there wasn't anybody there in this village. So when he pulled up to this village, he would do the normal greeting to, call out to people, and nobody was answering back. And he thought that was a bit odd. So as he started getting closer towards the village, he started noticing that things weren't really as they appeared to be. So he went into the first hut, because these are like the Eskimos or First Nations people that kind of do the nomad thing. So he went into the first hut and he looked around. He was very hesitant because he thought if he opens up this flap and walks into the hut, he's going to find dead bodies. Mm-hmm. He opened that up, went in. There was nobody. There was no sign of anybody anywhere in the village. And there was about 20, 25 people, I think, or 20, 25 huts. And the funny thing that he said was that when he started looking around in more detail, the food and the rifles were left behind. So if anybody knows anything about being out in the bush, you need your rifles because and your food. You're not going to leave that area without them. So he thought that was weird. So then when he kept walking a little bit further, he noticed that there was sled dogs. 7 of them had died. 2 of them were still alive. And usually sled dogs kind of act a certain way, but he said that the animals themselves were not acting normal. And the strangest thing of all is about 300 feet from the village, where they found the sled dogs. There was also kind of a burial ground in kind of out in the distance there. And the burial ground was disturbed. The grave was open and there was no body to be found.
Yeah. So it couldn't be another tribe just capturing them and taking them away.
No, because he didn't notice that he couldn't see. I mean, he's a trapper, so I'm sure that he would notice if there was struggles and things like that. He would notice those kind of things, but he did call the RMCP,
which blood?
Is nothing. The RMCP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, came and they began an investigation. And as far as I know from doing what research that I could find on it, I don't think there was ever a determination to say, what was the cause of it. Some people have said that they noted strange lights that were seen above the lake, where they were by, or around that time of the disappearance. It's just speculation. It's nothing set in stone. So yeah, that's what I thought. Some people say that it's a hoax. Some people say that, there can't be a determination made one way or another because of lack of evidence.
Well, that's interesting.
That reminds me of that Kansas town.
Kansas town?
I'll let you finish yours and I'll tell that one there.
No,
this one,
I'm pretty much done with that. I was just saying that there's people that had different kinds of speculations. Some were saying a hoax and some weren't saying anything at all because of lack of evidence.
Yeah, it was like in August of 1952. They had like one day, they received some calls about some disappearance. I'm pulling it up right now here. I just remembered it when you started talking about that stuff. Here we go, right there. All right, there's a whole bunch of events that took place. So the cops they don't have any local police, but there's 679 residents of this town. It's called Ashley, Kansas. So like it's a town, all right, a whole town. Right, homes, everything. So there's been some weird things happening. So it's like August 8th in the evening. They call to get someone down, one of the constables or whatever, to come. They come check out the problem, and they sent a trooper down there. He didn't see any issue, but he made a note of it. Okay, it was he said there were people calling constantly, nonstop, for like 15 minutes to their little constable thing, and they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And then there was no record of the calls. It was just really weird. It was strange. So then they had another issue of, reporting that doors were opening and closing, and that there was a black spot in the sky, and then that there was a spot on the ground, and it was getting bigger. It was black. And so they kind of ignored that, and they were like, these are some weird calls people are calling about. They got a few more calls for a few days after that. And then there was they thought it was like an earthquake. They weren't quite sure at first what it was, but it ended up being that they had to wait because it's early in the 1950s. So they had to wait to get reports. It was like some ground shaking. And they said they determined it was a 7.9 earthquake. And so they went around to check everywhere, all the outlying farms and all that. And when the troopers arrived in Ashley, Kansas, the only thing they saw was a line. Let's see, it's a It's a line that it's approximately 1,000 yards in length, and it's a black spot on the ground, and it's like 500 yards wide, just a black splotch right there.
Ew.
That's it.
That's it.
There's no town. There's no body. There's nothing there. They arrived and they were checking all the outlying towns, and when they got to Ashley, Kansas, they saw like a black scar on the ground that's 1,000 yards wide and about 1,000 yards long and about 500 yards wide. But that's it. Everything else gone. No trace of the entire town.
Ew.
Wow.
A lot of people believe it got swallowed up by the earthquake, but you would have
Yeah.
thought you'd have thought there'd have been like the
Did
ground just
debris or
pushed up.
something?
Yeah.
The whole town,
Evidence of debris
679 people gone.
And wouldn't it show that the ground was disturbed in some
Oh yeah,
way?
it had that
If it
giant
was
black
earthquake?
had that giant black thing there. It's 1,000 yards long and 500 yards wide, but still, you would think that the ground would have been split and shoved up like mountains.
That's what I mean.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It'd be
All of that.
discombobbled all over the
Yeah.
place.
You have a sinkhole in Florida. You see what that looks like.
Yeah.
This would have been a hell of a sinkhole to take
Sinkhole.
it down.
Exactly. Swallow it whole.
You mean when you have this big brown, black crack like thing or whatever the hell it is? It's pretty wide and all, but I mean, town's gone. Whole town gone.
Beard CB pointed out that there's a lot of oil and gas fields in Kansas.
True, there is.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, and by the way, you can look that one up. That one, let's see, what site is that on there? Creepy Pasta.
Yeah, I was on that site today.
Creepy Pasta, Wikia or whatever.com is where you would find that at, and the town's name was Ashley, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
Ashley, Kansas. But yeah, I mean, that was a folklore one from a long. I mean, I used to live in Topeka, so it's one. You hear it.
I suppose you would hear it, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just really that was just really strange. Because that was like in '52 they didn't have a lot of gear, so you thought you felt an earthquake. You found out, a few days later that it was an earthquake. So now a few more days go by, and you're driving around to all the outlying areas, and you get over to where Miss Martha is, and you're gonna get a cup of coffee from her and find out if everyone's okay. And ta-da! There's nothing there.
Bye-bye.
There's just a long black thing. It's wide and long. They're like going, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem.
How's everybody in Ashley? Still trying to find it. I thought it was here at this mile marker, but apparently it must not be.
Ew.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Truly. Wow.
I'll have to look
That's
that
creepy.
one up.
Yeah.
Check that one
I
out.
have to look into that one in more detail. And I hope that, too, if you guys are interested in any of these stories, yes, you can find these out on the internet. And their sources are out there. So if you're interested, I suggest doing a little bit more research and see what you come up with. Because it's interesting. It's very interesting.
There are some pretty wild stories.
There's some wild stories.
And then some of them they find out. I mean, what was that one? There was apparently there are stories that happen that you find out these crazy answers to later on, and then of course you always get more that have more questions. They had a car. They had a car that disappeared somewhere in Florida. I think it was Florida. The car disappeared. People in the car were gone. Couldn't find the car. Couldn't find the people. Now get this. A couple years later, some guys were out fishing and caught a big old shark. All right. No, the car was not in the shark, and no, the people weren't in the shark. But the license plate for the car was.
Oh.
Now imagine that case. It's closed. You can't find a thing. There's no trace of anybody. Then someone goes fishing, and the license plate's in the shark.
I would say they rode off the edge and went into the water.
I don't know. No clue. They still don't know where they are. I just thought that was wow. I have more questions again.
Well, and the thing too that makes me I wonder about too is like, okay, obviously this is somebody's loved one, so they go and they file their report, and it's out there and it becomes a case. Obviously, at some point in time, it becomes a cold case. You wonder if any of those cold cases, ever really get resolved.
Well, I don't know. Like maybe some of the really old ones.
That'd be a really crappy thing to have happen, though. We didn't find your husband, but we're opening the case again. Why? Someone found the license plate. Where? In a
Well,
shark.
in a shark.
Yeah.
I mean, what would that person do with that information? You're just like, okay, what?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's not an answer.
That's not an answer. That just gives us more questions. Okay, I'll tell you my next story.
Okay.
This one is New City Village. It's in New Jersey. It's a small community of Newark watershed. Employees live there. It became pretty popular in the 80s. 82, it was abandoned. There were signs that said that the road was closed. Houses were empty. Everything is like, I saw pictures of it, was all overgrown.
Mhm.
Like the houses have been sitting there for many, many years. They were empty. The funny thing that they found when people actually were brave enough to go in there and take a look, all of the personal belongings, the furniture, everything was still in these houses. It was just like the people left.
Wow.
There was a story, and I'm just using the word story because I don't know where this originated from. That there was a cult leader that lived there, and strange occurrences began to happen once he moved in. And it was said that the cult leader and the members massacred everybody in the town. But that wouldn't be possible because it would have been on the news. Something that massive would have been so newsworthy that it would have, made it out there in the airwaves back in the day.
Yeah, Jonestown.
Yeah. Today, it's possible that that there never will be the truth known to that. The speculation is that the plant was automated, and its systems most likely workers that were doing those jobs that are now automated weren't needed and therefore moved away to find other jobs.
Yeah,
Right,
but they would
but
be in
can you
contact with
imagine? Can you imagine if your boss called you and said, "Hey, Christine, I got a great thing for you. It's going to be a $5,000 a quarter increase. That's $20,000 a year, Christine. You and Eric just got to go over here, and there's a place for him too." You're like, "Yeah, great, but you can't take anything in the house."
Yeah, see, to me that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like you have to leave right now. No, right now. Grab a soda and go. Right this second. Leave everything behind.
Well, and then the other theory too is they thought maybe it was contaminated by radiation, and that's why people have.
That sounds more. That's why I said Chernobyl. It sounds more like something bad happened and it got covered up.
Yeah.
Covered it up real quick. Everyone got some money here. What's everything in your house worth? $80,000. Here's $80,000. Now go.
And I kind of think that that's maybe what had happened, but it was kind of funny because when it's not totally explained and it's just left out there, people will gravitate to all kinds of weird theories and speculations. And that's what I found so interesting about this story was all the weird theories and speculations that they came up with, which I just thought was crazy, some of the stuff. But I noticed in the early 2000s, they went in there and they tore down, I think, the majority of the houses because they didn't really want people, going around.
Well, yeah, and that's another good point. Because whenever you have a situation like that where you're going to have a large a grouping of buildings, you're going to have the migratory people, the people who are whatever going to be. Look, there's all these perfectly good houses empty there.
Yeah.
Why sleep in a tent when I sleep in that house?
Yeah.
I mean, New York, it happens every day. But I mean, imagine a whole town. I mean, an entire town. So,
exactly. So
they're
I'm
going to
sure.
bulldoze that down so they don't continue
Yeah.
to have more and more people get sick.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
showing up. I got 4 tails, 3 eyes, 2 nose. Why is
I
my
got
chin?
this
Why
funny
is my ear?
rash.
Yeah, why is my ear on my chin?
Yeah, all kinds of weird things. But if that was the case, then why didn't they just tear down the houses right away and quarantine that area off and just be done with it?
Admission of guilt. If you immediately tear the houses down and quarantine it, why would you tear all the houses down and quarantine it? Everyone's watching you. What happened here? Now it's fresh. If everyone just leaves in the middle of the night and no one drives through there, no one says a word, you're going to get some time. Some time's going to go by.
But still, you'd think that there would be like, if my brother disappeared from Tennessee, I definitely would be looking for him and trying to put something out there on the news and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't really hear any follow-up from relatives, which is kind of...
They probably know, though. It was probably that type of situation. I'm just me guessing. It probably was that kind of situation. So your family knows, and you're going to have to be hush money. I mean, you have to worry about the odd people you're going to have to worry about, like the postman. Make sure he doesn't talk, because he's not going there anymore. That's a guy who his whole life just changed. Everybody else, all your delivery people.
All your delivery people that would go there.
That's where you're going to have to do your work there. That's going to be the work you're going to have to make sure, because each one of those is a different company, and you got to make sure that there's nobody talking.
I mean, that wasn't a small area. That was a pretty huge area. There was a lot of houses. That's a lot of people to pay a lot of hush money to, if that's truly what happened. I mean, I don't know.
Right. And I don't either. Obviously. But it's it's a theory, anyways.
And Smile when you commented, we have a town in Pennsylvania that was abandoned.
Is that the one, Centralia?
I don't know.
Is that the one you're talking about, John?
Yep. The underground coal fire. Yep. That's the one.
That's the one. Thank you,
Still
Smile. I couldn't remember the name of it. I know I heard it, but I just couldn't.
Yeah, that one is funny because it's gone, but everybody knows what happened. But if you were driving through, it would kind of like you see roads that go, and then there's nothing there. I saw an interview that was done there. They were walking around, and the guy's like, "Well, that used to be this, and that used to be that." So pavement is still there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it goes places and stops.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, that's like a road that goes nowhere. It's just
the road to nowhere.
And then, you got smoke rising from the ground. You're like, this place is like, I don't know what's going on here. And that's that place he's talking about right there. It's just a town that was there. There was a lady I saw an interview with. She was the mayor, and she was like one of the last people to leave. She didn't want to leave, but it was just getting so dangerous.
Yeah. And they don't really want people there.
Well, yeah. I mean, who wants to go? My house could fall through the ground at any minute into a blazing inferno of a coal fire.
Well, no, but I think they don't even want people there to try to go and get pictures or get some documentation on it.
No, because you're talking. I mean, imagine if you have caverns underneath,
solid, and then boom.
Yeah, caverns underneath you that are on. And that's not just a regular fire. That's a coal fire.
No.
That's a hot puppy there.
That's hellfire.
Yeah.
He said that they got to tour the cemetery and it had a hole where some smoke was coming out.
Oh, that
would be creepy looking.
Welcome to the cemetery. Oh, come on. What's that all about?
What? No.
I don't know. Okay, I'm out of here.
Of hell.
Yeah.
Do not show me.
Do not show me this.
We have our own door right there.
Yeah.
There's an elevator. Just push down.
That'd be funny. Somebody put a sign there going down. There I am again. Okay, my last and the final story is over in Ireland. And this is Audis, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, and I'm sorry, people. Audeys town. It was mid-19th century. There was 250 people that lived there in Northern Ireland. And in 1854, it shows the area was overgrown by woods. It's believed that the town no longer existed due to Lady Banger, who had removed. I probably didn't say her name correctly either. I'm sorry, lady.
Lady Banger.
Banger.
Sounds like a stripper.
Banger.
Lady Banger.
Squirrel. Anyways, they had removed the people from the town, and they were sent on a boat called the Rose. But there is no records indicating that there was a boat that left in that area or arrived into a different port. It's speculated that the ship either sunk or the people were thrown overboard.
Wow. Or they might have been looking for a boat
that floats
instead of a boot. A boot.
A boot. Yeah.
A boat that floats.
No, there's no record of a boot that was taking off with a bunch of people. No, that's the lady in the shoe, and she didn't.
Why would they be in a boot?
Yeah. Well, it just makes me wonder, like, how do you get that many people on a boat for one thing? And, did you force them to go? Did you pay them to go? I mean, how did they go? And if they did drown, why was the bodies never recovered?
Well, it depends how deep, too. Like, look at the Edmund Fitzgerald. Nobody ever came.
No. Yeah, but Lake Superior, she just never gives up her dead no matter what.
No.
Back in those days, cover-ups were a lot easier to do.
Well, that's true, because you think about it, back in the day, not to get off topic, but kind of off topic, you could get away with a lot more crap back in the day.
Well, yeah, you didn't have internet, you didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, if someone's going to get a picture of you doing something wrong back then, it required a huge, gigantic tripod, a great big old box.
Yeah.
I mean, guys standing underneath it going, okay, they're doing wrong. Boom, giant flash goes off. He's got to develop a glass plate, So there's no pictures. There's none of that. So when you had an issue, it was whatever was right around you. Whatever was happening in that area was all you had to handle.
Yeah.
So if you took everybody, put them on a boat, and threw them off, you pretty much handled any issue.
Well, Bearded CB82 made a good point. He said back in the 1850s, at that time, Irish slaves were still being imported to the Caribbean and other territories.
True.
That I did not know. Yeah. Thank you for that.
True. Very true.
See, there's a lot of conspiracies that probably were going on way back in the day.
Oh, there there was. But I mean, disappearances now, I think are more. I don't mean like odd as in like they don't happen that much, but I think they're more odd now than they were back in the day. Because I mean, back in the early 1700s, if you wanted to disappear a small town, I'll bet you could.
Well,
probably pull it off in a few days all by yourself. But I mean, nowadays, you got a lot to do to pull off something like that. That's
I'm sorry.
His name was Peter Banger.
Douglas, good one. But I suppose too, like going back to what Beard CB said, if there was something significant going on at that time in that part of the history, some of those disappearances would make sense.
Could explain it very easily.
Well, could have, and the ship could have gone down, and there you go.
Well, that leads me to another quick little story that I remember seeing someplace. I think it was on the Travel Channel when they were talking about different areas of the states. I want to say it was someplace on the West Coast, and I don't know if it was in Oregon or Washington, somewhere in that neck of the woods, where they would pick guys that were in the pubs drinking, because they were always short-handed for people on the ships, on the boats, and they would knock them out when nobody was looking, and then they had like a trap underneath the floor with a whole tunnel system to get through the town or the city to the docks where the boats were, and
Shanghaied.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they call it? Yeah, they were Shanghaied.
And get that poor bastard, on the boat, and then what are you going to do?
Bonanza. They had a episode on that where they almost got Shanghaied. I remember seeing that. So and it's like, I didn't know that could really happen.
And so, I mean, some of the weird disappearances back in the days were, you could explain, due to what kind of issue
Yeah.
or circumstance was going on at that time.
Portland?
Oh, Portland. Okay, thank you, Bearded CB. Thank you, Jelson. I couldn't remember exactly where, but I knew it was out in that neck of the woods.
Huh.
Kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
well, I mean, now, what did there was, they used to do there was behavior like that was exercised by a lot of people. I remember the military used to do something with drinking in bars where they would offer people like a tiny sum of money, or whatever, and they get them drunk, and they get them to sign up for the military. So that type of bamboozling used to happen for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they used it
I'm
to
sure.
I'm sure they used it to get other things taken care of too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Need a couple sailors.
Mhm.
Not a
Like
problem.
a roofie for a guy.
Yeah.
Couple more pints of rum here, and all I'll do is I'll have him sign this little paper, give him $5, and yes, he belongs to us now.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
must be where Rum Dum came from.
Where what came from?
Rum Dum.
Rum Dum.
Yeah, give him $5, and once you get him on the boat, you can tell him, "Oh yeah, it costs $5 to ride this boat. Thanks a lot." They'll just be sitting there scratching their head, going, "I got a hangover, and I'm out $5. What do you mean I work? What do you mean I work for you?"
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
Where'd the land go?
Well, it was a very interesting subject. Do you have anything else that you want to add to it?
There is something. There's something that's a lot of people have wondered about these multiple disappearances.
Mm-hmm.
I just have one word. Socks. Where did they go? Where do they go? How can you put two in a dryer and only one comes out? Where do
Or
they go?
how can you be driving down the road and go, "Did you see that? What? That was a red sock. It's just right there in the middle of the road."
I know, who loses their sock out a window?
I always want to stop and know the tale. What's the tale? I want this sock to tell me, how did you get here? Was it a little kid waving out the window and it just flew out of his hand? Or what? How in the whole world did this sock get here?
Yeah. Oh God. Hair ties too, but you guys won't know about that. I will buy a whole bunch of hair ties.
Yeah.
And where did they go? I never find them anywhere.
I know.
I
Me
know.
too. I'm like, I put them in the
Would
drawer.
you like to know? I found them. I can tell you right where they are.
Where?
I found literally so many. It's scary how many I found. A little tiny rubber band with a little metal thing on the end of it, and it's wrapped in like a cloth or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The back of the dryer has a tube coming out of it, and there's a clasp on that tube. If you squeeze that clasp and pull the tube off, you look in there, you'll see it's full of them.
Oh, okay.
That's that horrible smell you smell coming out of your dryers, those burning up.
What were you asking about?
I can't remember. Roanoke, Virginia. Hair bands. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Roanoke, Virginia disappeared. And I remember seeing YouTube thing about it, but I never looked into it.
Wait, Roanoke, Virginia disappeared. I've actually heard of that.
Is it Virginia?
Because CB made a comment about Roanoke disappeared.
I just said Virginia, but I might not be right.
Oh, and he also pointed out that Seattle still has the underground tours. That'd be kind of cool to actually to see, because that's like, pretty good piece of history there.
It says Roanoke County, known as the Lost Colony. Also known as the Lost Colony, was established in 1585 on Roanoke Island. Is today's Dare County, North Carolina.
Oh.
It was a late 16th century attempt by Queen Elizabeth to establish a permanent English settlement in North America. The Roanoke Colony. I believe that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Where
I got Virginia, I don't know.
A couple of other different places
was
too.
an island?
Croton,
Hatteras
Hatteras
Island?
Hatteras Island.
Croton?
A lot of interesting places that are popping up in the chat room
That have disappeared.
Yeah. don't disappear.
Someone's gonna find a big cave one day, and they're gonna go, "Okay, you got me. Yes, here's all your towels. You can have them back."
And your hair bands, your hair ties. You can have those too.
If you go in the very, very back, you'll notice there's 45 caves full of socks. So whoever wants those,
Yeah,
those
go
too.
get your socks in the back.
God dang it.
Lots of
The only thing they found on a tree. Huh.
interesting.
Huh? That's wild.
It's different
Illuminati
confirmed.
confirmed.
You should have been here last week, Jolson. That's what we talked about.
Oh, the Illuminati.
Yes.
Rockefellers and
I've been picking pretty strange conversations lately or topics.
But that's good though, because it's different. Something different. Gotta stay different.
Well, they probably just go, "What is she thinking? Where did she come up with this?"
well, I'm waiting for all of those God, what are they called? Sealed indictments or whatever to be unsealed.
There you go.
What's all 65,000 of them?
That'll be a very, very special day for a lot of people.
And maybe some mysteries will get solved that day too. Who knows? It'll be very interesting.
Oh, Christine, you know what? I just realized you're going to have the Christmas show again this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the 22nd is Saturday, then 23rd Sunday, 24th Monday, and Tuesday's the 25th.
Oh, wow.
So you will have the Christmas show again this year. So yes, we'll have to start getting your dingle balls all set to go there.
Hey, you know what? I want to tell you something about that. We're going to get off track here for a minute. But did you notice when you came in the front porch, my dingle balls were not hanging in the window this time? Because usually I have those big dingle balls. I went with snowflakes.
Ah.
So do you want me to do snowflakes this year? And remember now, I've been working on one promo video for you for 7 months.
Yes, why don't you tell Mary about that?
The girls' night video it has reached like stupid epic proportions.
The girl, Jolson said something about a girl that disappeared and was found in a water tank. Do you have any more information on that, Jolson? Like where and when that occurred? Exactly, CB. He got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I remember hearing about that. They realized the water was really gross, and then when they went and checked it out, it's so gross. I don't even like thinking about it.
Also, a girl was found in a tank, huh?
That
had disappeared
on top of a hotel.
On top of a hotel.
I do remember.
Those are those. Was it New York or something? Those are those water, the pressure tanks there. They pump those big. You see them in New York a lot.
They're
big water tanks on top of what they do is they pump. It's just like when you see the water towers around those towns in the Midwest.
Yeah.
These are smaller versions of it. It's a big wooden water tank up on top of a building.
In LA.
In LA, he said.
Oh, in LA, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Interesting.
Ugh,
and I don't think I want to be the person to find that.
Yeah, something happy. It's a show about disappearances. There's not a lot of happy there. No. Town gone. Mary's like, make me happy. Come on.
I'm afraid to drive over the bridge.
Bringing me down.
Okay, one thing I did look into a lot that's really cool is guardian dogs, like on farms, the kinds that stay with the flock of sheep or cattle or whatever. Not the ones that hurt them, but they're not pets. They're actual working guardian dogs, like a Great Pyrenees. It's a big, it was really cool learning about them. Yeah. Take down bears. There's some that take down lions, not here. In Africa.
Mary has squirrel too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what I like learning about? What? Dogs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dogs. I want to talk about puppies. Yeah. Make me happy.
I just talk about something happy.
See, that's why we get along so well. Squirrel.
We follow each other's thought process.
She's like, okay, I'm done with the show now. Let's talk about puppies.
Yeah.
Let's watch kitten
The
videos.
cutest puppy you've ever seen.
Oh, no, now they're doing it in unison. Oh, help me.
No, I've been watching too many YouTube videos about like great disasters and things like that, and then I'll have dreams that I'm in one, wake up with a panic attack going. It's not good.
So what you got to do then is you got to watch videos about people winning the lottery, and then you'll dream that you won, and you'll wake up excited and happy.
Yeah.
And then reality will bitch slap you and you go, oh, that didn't happen.
And then you'll find out you didn't win, and then you'll be all upset with me. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for my sister to win the lottery because she had dreamt she was going to have twins way before she ever even thought about it. And she did. She had identical twin girls. They don't run in her family. So, and then she dreamt she was going to win. I think it was 384 million in the lottery. It was like a very specific number. And
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, she goes with her luck. It'll be on her.
Oh.
It'll be when she's pretty old, and then her kids will come creeping in with a pillow. Hi, Mom. How you doing?
Mom, how you doing?
After she wins the lottery.
Did I drop that pillow on you? Wow.
Yeah, you want to lay down. You look tired. Speaking of along those lines, did you remember what you wanted to say towards the end of the show?
It was the socks.
It was the socks. Okay.
Socks and hair bands.
Just wanted to make sure we had it covered.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that subject.
Yeah.
I think it was
kinda
fun.
weird.
I think
I
it was
learned
fun.
some things.
Yeah, I learned some things tonight. Things that I didn't really know, and kind of a little food for thought.
Yeah.
Things that make you go, hmm.
I learned things today that I came here not thinking I was going to learn. No, dogs.
Well, now, so don't you feel happier? You don't feel so bummed out about all these disappearances?
Absolutely, you know. I was like, sad. Then puppy.
Hummingbird. Those make me happy too.
Mhm. Well, I'm hoping that everybody that's listening tonight and everybody in the chat room really enjoyed this. It was a different kind of a topic. It's not a subject I don't think that most people really think about. I mean, you hear about people disappearing and you go, oh, that's too bad, or you know what I mean? But it's kind of dismissive. You don't really kind of scratch the surface like we did. So I hope if it's a topic that you do enjoy or you found something that we talked about, and look into it in more detail and kind of draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't have absolutely nothing planned for next week. It'll be a surprise, boys and girls.
I'm sure.
I love surprises. They're great.
Should we talk about guardian dogs?
No, I can't do a promo about guard dogs. That's me crawling down a hole going, oh, look. And they'll be like 5 hours later, oh, I got to get this promo up. Obviously, they're watching dogs. Oh, look at that. That's so, yeah, all right. Yeah, that'll go over real well.
It could be worse. Like we talk about male pole dancers.
No. Gosh.
Oh.
Wow, you're terrible.
No.
You're horrible, awful, terrible.
Okay.
What?
Just
Male
saying.
pole
This girls' night video has been enough for me to deal with as it is.
Oh my God, that got
I
out
can't
of
wait to see.
control. That was out of control.
Well, this thing is like
More about Eric that night too. Holy crap!
but I mean, like after she had somebody do something on the video from last year, then all of a sudden was like, well, I can do that. Well, I want to do that. Well, I want to do that. She actually had people arguing over it, and then all of a sudden everybody starts doing it. So
Yeah,
now,
and they're all trying to outdo each other.
right,
Oh, cool.
the lady who didn't know what to do. This was a very innocent thing. She's like, well, I don't know what to do. I was like, do whatever you want to do. But what am I going to do? I live on a farm. What am I going to do? Run out and dance on a hay bale? I went, sure.
Yeah.
Fine. She's like, really? I went, that's fine. Dance on a hay bale. Who cares? So she last year, that's what she did. Well,
Yeah.
it started a thing. Now everybody wants to go dance on a hay bale. So we got people from all over in farms sending in, here's me dancing on a hay bale. It's like, come on. how many people are going to dance on April's night?
Well, the girls' night is going to be an '80s theme, so you're going to have shoulder pads on and big hair if you're going to dance on a hay bale.
Well, she's already got a shoulder padded, big haired lady who did she actually did chess in a ballroom gown in a pond.
Oh, it's my favorite gal of all time.
She took a foxtail for a walk with a giant rope.
She's the one that was in it last year that had the dark hair, the really beautiful eyes.
And then we got her enjoy a few moments with a fish. She's looking at a fish and she kisses it.
She kisses
she
the
bites
fish.
it.
Ew!
Right on the lips.
Oh yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
So it's now the girls' night's a big joke and everybody wants to be in it. So there are so many video people that have put it in. I mean, there's probably, I'd say, upwards of 140, 150 entries right now for that video. And it's like,
really?
Yeah, and I got to make them all make sense.
Look what we started.
Well, we don't make sense, so that doesn't have to.
We don't make sense. Why would that have to?
It's just this weird thing where everyone's like, oh, wow, that sounds fun. I want to be in that. And like, okay, well, I want to be. If she can be in it, I'm going to be in it. Well, I can dance on it. It's like, oh, come on, everybody. Next thing you know, people that we've hired to do other videos that saw that video were like, I want to be in that too. The redhead, I want to be in that.
Jim's redhead?
Remember she was in last year's?
Yes.
She's the one went.
Yes. We have to have her in the video this year. She's awesome.
She did yours already. Yours is already done. She already did
Okay.
it. She did. She specifically did not wear the dress.
Yeah.
And she toasts you with a glass of wine.
Ooh.
So I thought, well, okay, yeah, she'll like that. Yeah.
There you go. Awesome.
But, yeah. So, it's unbelievable how many is in there. I'm trying to figure out how to get this all into girls just want to have fun. We're still getting ready. We got to do the beta test of that. Make sure we don't get punished for using it.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, we'll have to come up with another song.
Yeah, and I don't want to come up with another song a week before we need it because poor John, poor John. Doesn't want to start the editing process that's taken this long so far.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's going to be a wild, insane one.
I'm hoping that this year my aunt's going to make it.
Oh God, she's hilarious. She has to. She's so funny. All she has to do is talk about dates she's been on, and it's like we're going. I think you're with a serial killer. What? Yeah, normal people don't do that. They don't have axes and ropes in their trunk.
Yeah, so everyone who's listening to this right now, remember, everything's normal on this show till that night.
Till then.
Yeah. Then I am going to tell you that there is an age warning.
Yes.
Age warning. So yeah,
that will be an explicit show for sure. Yes, and it'll be doubly explicit.
Yes, we will not want to have any kiddies around, so make sure they're not there for that show. Well, you'll have plenty of notifications. It'll be in February, but once the kids are in bed, show up because it'll be fun.
and just because I asked the question about right or left,
yeah, that got the whole ball rolling.
Yeah. Literally.
John's like, stop. Do you realize though that I've been doing these girls' dinner parties? I was thinking about this yesterday. This is the 12th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been doing it that long.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is my second year. I mean, whoever thought it'd be promoted now?
Well, I didn't think that anybody was going to be interested in being on the radio. In all honesty.
Oh, right. There's a bunch of girls at Christine's house. They're real shy right now. Now they're not as shy. Now they're not so shy. Now they're not shy at all, and they're on the air.
Add alcohol. That's all.
There's going to be a lot of people that tune in and go. So they're okay. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Trust me. Yeah, it was
nobody
crazy.
wanted to talk, and then next thing you know, they're practically pushing each other out of the chair
Yeah.
to sit down and be at the mic.
Like, let me tell you something, John.
Oh yeah, that's a night John just sits here, shakes his head, tries his best not to, I don't know, turn too red, and I just sit here and go, "Girls do that, really?"
Poop-tastrophe?
What now? Had to explain to wife who I was texting and how John relates to poop-tastrophe.
I never heard of poop-tastrophe. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta remember that word.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that when a colonoscopy goes bad? It's a
Okay.
poop
All right, that's enough for me.
John's like, la, 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 I'm not listening. I'm not doing it.
They're going
Not
down the
how-
rabbit hole. Come back.
Yeah,
What
we
did
are.
Jolson put in here? Just a second. Sorry.
Yeah, he put a.
Wait.
oh.
Jolson gave you a hyperlink,
Yes!
and you're gonna click it, really?
Jesus Christ Almighty,
This-
Jolson.
I'm gonna have a nightmare now.
Oh,
Oh God.
I thought
I'm gonna have to watch guardian dog videos. Get that out of my head.
Okay, sorry. I didn't think it was
That
going to
was
be anything
scary.
bad.
Am I pushing the button now?
Yeah, I think we're going to get ready to push the button. So
Yeah.
thanks everybody for joining us this evening. Everybody in the chat room, everybody that will listen to us and podcast on the various places.
Oh, okay. Yes, thanks everyone thanks Chris for letting me join you.
Yes, thanks
and-
Mary for being
Thank you,
here.
John.
Yeah, this was fun. We'll have to do it
Yeah.
again. We'll figure out
Oh.
another topic again.
Yeah.
And next time maybe the pizza won't be so bad.
Okay, the topping was great.
Toppings
The
is
crust
good. The
was-
crust not so much.
Yeah, gluten free.
Yeah, it's another story.
when it's got 3 different kinds of gum something or other
Yeah.
in it, you kind of know.
Yeah, you just don't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna push the button there, Smile Money. Thanks everybody. Have a good night. Have a good week ahead of you, and we'll talk at you next week.
Yeah.